So finite element method is a numerical method. Actually, it is a numerical method to obtain solutions to various engineering problems, approximate solution to various engineering problems, because as it is a numerical method, you will always be getting the approximate solutions only. So first, before starting with this FEM, let me first explain about the stepwise design process and where this FEM will stand. Means where the FEM is actually used in industries in this design process. This is the stepwise design process as proposed by Shigley, Sir Joseph Shigley. So in the design process, this is the stepwise flow chart. In this, you can see that first comes the recognition of need. So suppose whenever you want to design something, first you have to identify what is the need, whether the need is there for that device to be designed. For example, let me take the example of this pen itself. So here, what is the need? The need is that I want a device to write on the paper. So you have identified this need. You have identified that there is a need for a device which can write easily on the paper. Okay. Suppose there is a need that you have to write on the blackboard, then definitely will go for a chalk piece. Now I have a need that I want a device which can be used to write it on papers, white paper or any other paper. So then when you recognize this need, you will understand that you have to come with certain device, and you don't have any picture how that device will be and how it will write, those all things, but just you have identified that there is a need for any device which will be used to write on the paper. So in the recognition of need, these points will come into picture, that is realization of the problem exists in the design or in the product. There may be already one existing design, there may be some problem in that design or in that product, you want to improve that product also. That is also one type of recognition of need. For example, in the olden days, the mobile was there, but mobile was used only to receive and make the calls. But later, some accessories were added. For example, GPS was added in order to track the person. Suppose if there is a person is in any danger, in order to track that person, GPS was added, and later audio system was added, so that as the person is always carrying the mobiles with him, so he can use it as a audio player also. So audio players were added. So those were the needs recognized. Already the product is there and you have recognized the needs, or you are planning to improve that product. That is also one type of recognition of need. Or sometimes what happens, there may be opportunity for development of new products also. For example, suppose you want a device to write on white paper. That is a new opportunity. Then you can decide that I want to design certain device which can write it on the paper. Then once you recognize this need, next comes the definition of problem. In this step, you will be completely defining the design, means the problem which you want to solve, that will be completely defined. For example, on the paper means you may use even pencil also, or you may use even sketch pen also, or you may use even acrylic pastes also to write it on the paper. Now you have to define the problem in detail, that you want for example, suppose you want to design the ball pen, then what are the problem definition? I want a device which can write very thin lines on the paper, and I want a device which can whose ink is waterproof, and I want a device which is easily flowing, means while writing it should not get stuck. These are the definition of the problem, and these all things will be done in the second step. In the second step, we will be defining for example, suppose this pen I want to design. In the second step, I will be defining I want a device which should be easy to handle. It should be portable and easy to hold it in my fingers with my 3 fingers. And then the ink should be waterproof, and then it should be easily flowing. Those things will be defined in the second stage, that is definition of the problem. That is specification of item will be completely mentioned or defined in this. Then later its functional characteristics are also mentioned. For example, I told no, it should be easy to hold in the hands, and it should be freely flowing while writing, and it should be ink should be waterproof one, and it should be of cheaper in cost. That is also very important. And quality means what? During when if you are using it in examination, it should be reliable. It should not fail during the examination, and its performance also should be very good. These are the things which you will be taking into account in the second stage. In the third stage, this is the actual design phase, that is synthesis, in which you will be calculating all the actual dimensions. For example, suppose a pen is there. I want to design this pen, then I will be calculating all the dimensions, length, then diameter of this pen, so that it should be easy to hold in the hands, and then all the other dimensions will be calculated in this third step, that is calculation of dimensions. Then preliminary ideas that are developed during definition of problem through research or through surveys will be used to synthesize the device. Now you have synthesized, means you have decided everything. You have decided the material, you have decided the dimensions of the pen, then you have decided the material of the ink, you have decided the color of the ink, then you have decided whether it should be a ball pen, or it should be a nib pen, or it should be a lead pen. Those all things will be defined in the synthesis phase. Then after synthesis, there comes the analysis and optimization phase. This is the very important phase, in which what happens after whatever the design calculations we do, we have to check whether those calculations are correct or not, means whether that device will function properly or not. So those things will be done by using theoretical calculations. And now FEM will come into picture here only. In this stage, what happens in industries, in the olden days, they were using hand calculations and manual calculations to do analysis and optimization. Optimization means what? Optimum means what? Neither minimum nor maximum. It is correct, optimized. Okay, like that, this diameter of the pen should be neither minimum, it should not be neither maximum. If it is very large, then what happens? It will be have fatigue to my hands, my fingers, and there will be a holding gripping problem. But if it is too low, again there will be a gripping problem. And those all things you have to take into account. So this diameter should be optimum, such that it is easily holdable in my hands. Okay, that is optimization. Then in I think in design of machine elements, after designing and doing all the calculations, you are checking, check for stresses you are doing, no? Check for bending stress, induced bending stress, check for induced tensile stress. Then later what you will do, after checking it, you will check how much is the magnitude. If that magnitude of stress is within the permissible limit of that material, then you can tell that the design is safe. Okay. Then later that is called as analysis. Okay. So in the analysis phase, manually what we'll do, we'll check the stresses induced in the body, and how the body will function by using theoretical approach, and then we'll optimize it. For example, suppose the stresses induced are very minimum, what I can do, I can reduce the size so that I can save the material. If the stresses induced are very large, I can increase the material so that I can again make the stresses minimum or within the limit. Like that, optimization is also carried out. So in finite element, so in industries nowadays, after the when we started using the FEM in the industries, they started using in this phase only, that is for analysis and optimization. FEM is not a new technique. It was there even before 60 or 70 years also. But after the computers were invented, this FEM became popular. Because in FEM, what happens? It is a numerical method, and you know, numerical methods, the accuracy of the numerical method depends on the number of terms you are using. For example, you have seen no Taylor series, you have seen Newton-Raphson method, you have seen Runge-Kutta method, you have seen. In those methods which you are solving in mathematics, the accuracy of that method or the results you are getting, that accuracy depends on how many number of terms you are taking. If you take more number of terms, definitely you will be moving more and more closer to the accurate value. Means the solution you are getting is more and more accurate. But at the same time, what happens? The calculation time also increases. So here in finite element analysis, what happened? Initially, the matrix, as the finite element method uses matrix methods. So in the olden days, when there were no computers, at that time, the solving of matrix equations was very difficult. And it was very tedious process. It involved lot of time. So due to that, what happens? FEM was not widely used. But later, when this computers were invented, after the invention of the computer, you know that computer can do lot of repeated operations. It can do repeated operations lot of times. So due to that, what happens? Whatever may be the order of the matrices, it can easily solve. By manually, how much you can solve? Maximum 2 by 2 matrix, or 3 by 3 matrix, or 4 by 4 matrix. But the whatever the matrix we come across in FEM, it may be even more than 1000 by 1000 order also. 100 by 100, 1000 by 1000 order. So due to that, what happens? Solving manually, it was very difficult. So nobody was using FEM in the olden days. But after the invention of computers, as computer can easily solve matrix equations, due to that, what happens? FEM gained popularity. So in the analysis and optimization phase, we will be using finite element method. So what we do, we use computer simulations. We'll after doing all the calculations, for example, suppose I have calculated all the dimensions and material for this pen, I will prepare a CAD model of this pen with all the specifications, means its material, everything. Then later it will be used in finite element analysis software for analysis purpose. So how much is the stress induced in this pen, whether the stresses are within the limit or not, and whether the pen will perform properly or not, by using computer simulations. So by using computer simulations, we can perform the analysis, and then we can optimize the dimensions. Then later, once it is 100% okay, if it is not okay, you can see here that it is an iterative process. Yeah? You can see this arrow mark, no? It is back to synthesis. Means what? In analysis and optimization, if you find any problem, then later it is sent back for synthesis in order to modify the dimension. For example, you can see here that whether the specified design constraints are suitable or not. Those all things will be checked. If it is not okay, by using FEM, if it is not okay, then what we'll do, we'll send it back for synthesis purpose, and again the calculation of dimensions will be done, and later it will be sent back to the again for analysis and optimization. Once it is 100% okay in computer simulation by using finite elements analysis, what they will do, they will send it for evaluation purpose. In the evaluation, what they do is, it is a experimental testing, that is prototype testing, what we call. Prototype means what? Prototype is a initial model prepared after designing. First model which is prepared for testing, that is called as a prototype. The prototype may be scaled model also. For example, if suppose it may be a scaled in smaller size, or it may be scaled in larger size also, or it may be a actual size of the component also. Then they will carry out prototype testing. For example, cars. Once the cars are designed, they will do, they will not directly start the production of that car. After doing analysis and optimization in finite element analysis software, they will send it for prototype testing, that is for evaluation. Means what? They will prepare one model of the car. It may be a scaled to smaller size, or it may be a same size of that of the original car. Then they will go for crash testing and braking test and acceleration test. All those tests will be performed on that car. Suppose you are doing crash testing. After doing the crash test, what happens? Whether the car is reusable? No, it will become scrap only. Means what? After the prototype testing, the material will become scrap and it cannot be reused. So suppose in prototype testing you come to know that there is some problem, what they will do? They will send it back again for redesigning, that is for synthesis. Okay, like this. In the olden days when FEM was not there, means this design process was not there, at that time what they were doing, after synthesis they were preparing a prototype and they were testing those prototypes, and if there is any problem, again they will send it back to synthesis process and again they will remodify and again they will prepare manufacture one prototype and again they will test it. So hundreds of thousands of prototypes were needed to be tested in the olden days. But after the popularity of FEA, finite element analysis, everybody, when they started using FEM for analysis purpose, what they did is it minimized prototype testing. So here what happens? They will make 100% okay in the software simulation itself. Then later they will send it for prototype testing, because you cannot avoid experimental testing. Experimental test is very important. You cannot avoid the experimental test, but you can reduce the number of experimental tests. So that is very important. So by that you can save most of the cost. For example, in material testing lab you have did no tensile test, compression test, then this ISO test, Charpy test. After doing that test, can you reuse that workpiece which you are using, that test piece which you are using? No, it is a destructive testing. Once you test it, do a tensile test, after that it gets ruptured, so it cannot be used. It is a scrap only. To manufacture that component you need about 500 to 600 rupees. Then later once you test it experimentally, it becomes a scrap. So that 500 600 rupees is a waste. So due to that, what happens? As much as possible you have to try to reduce the experimental tests. You cannot avoid the experimental test, but you have to reduce the number of experimental tests. Due to that, what happens? FEM gained popularity. So by using FEM you can reduce number of prototype testing. For example, they will make the car 100% okay in the analysis and optimization in computer simulation itself. Later they will send it for prototype testing. Within 2 or 3 prototype testing, the model will become 100% okay. So that in the olden days about hundreds of experimental tests were needed, prototype tests were needed, and each car, suppose if each car is costing say about 5 lakhs rupees, if you have to do 100 tests before the launch of new car, then how much is the cost incurred in experimental testing for that company? It is a huge, no? So due to that, what happens? By using FEM you can able to make the design 100% okay within 1 or 2 or maximum 5 prototype testings. So due to that, what happened? Lot of experimental testing cost can be saved. Then once it is okay in evaluation, after prototype testing, if it is 100% okay, they will send it for presentation. Means they will present it to the concerned person. For example, for manufacturing, the design person will send all the details to the documentation of the design to the manufacturing person for the manufacturing purpose. That is called as presentation. And presentation of the design document is always with the help of what? Engineering drawings only, no? Because drawing is the language of an engineer. So due to that, what happens? Whatever engineer speaks, he will be speaking only in terms of his drawings only. He will not, design engineer will not go to a production person and he will tell that you manufacture a component like this, its length should be 100 mm, diameter should be 10 mm, like that. He cannot tell orally. He has to do some documentation, and those documents has to be sent to the production person, and production person has to understand, should be able to read those documents and understand those documents. That is why the drawing has come. So engineering drawings are such that they are self-explanatory. Whatever machine drawings you will do, no, in machine assembly, manufacturing, those all things, they are readable and self-understandable. So due to that, what happens? The production person can easily read what is the material of that component, what are the process that needs to be done, what are the dimensions of the components, everything that the production person will come to know just by reading those drawings. So presentation will be always by using engineering drawings with the bill of material, that is material specifications, and also with assembly list. I think you have seen the assembly drawing, no? In the assembly drawing, at the right bottom corner, you might have seen one table in the sheet. In that table, they will be mentioning, no, all material of that part, everything will be mentioned, and the dimensions of that part will be available in the drawing itself. So the presentation will be in terms of engineering design drawings. Okay, so that is the documentation of the design. So this is the stepwise design process which will be used in any industry. It is proposed by Sir Joseph Stiglitz. So here now you have understood what is the role of FEM in design process and where the FEM can be widely used. Now let us move on in detail with the introduction to FEM. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, fine. Okay, let us continue with the introduction to FEM. Now I think you have understood it is in analysis and optimum stage. In that stage, FEM is used. So later, now what is FEM? The definition of FEM is that the finite element method is a numerical technique used to obtain approximate solution to various complex engineering problems. Means what? It is a numerical technique, just similar to your Runge-Kutta method or Taylor series or your Newton-Raphson method. It is a numerical technique. So numerical techniques are such that they are very easy to calculate, but they give only approximate results. They cannot give 100% accurate results. But whereas analytical methods, for example, your strength of material approach or your theory of elasticity approach, they will give 100% accurate results. But the problem with that is that you cannot solve complex engineering problems. No? In strength of material, what were the complexity of the problem? A simple uniform cross-section bar, or it may be a stepped bar, or it may maximum tapered bar. And then the type of loading was either a single type of loading, or there may be a two types of loading, or combination of two. If suppose more than two to three types of loadings are there, if suppose the complex geometry of the material is there, and if suppose the material properties are also complex, for example, suppose it is a combination of material properties, then it is very difficult to solve by using your strength of material equations or theory of elasticity equations, means by using the analytical methods. Then for those types of problems, you can directly rely on numerical techniques, because numerical techniques are easy to solve even the complex engineering problems. But the only thing is that they cannot give you 100% accurate results. They can give you approximate result solutions up to a certain accuracy, how much it is needed. And also 100% accuracy is always not needed in engineering, because you might have seen, whenever you are doing whenever you are specifying any dimension, you might have seen the tolerances given on the dimension. For example, 100 mm plus or minus 0.1 mm plus or minus 0.5 mm. Why those tolerances are specified? Because if you don't specify the tolerance, then it is very difficult, almost impossible for the production person to manufacture that component exactly at 100 mm dimension. So somewhat little bit deviation in the dimensions will be there. How much is the deviation allowed in that dimension? That is what we call it as tolerance. Suppose 100 mm plus or minus say 1 mm is okay for me. Means what does it mean? 101 mm is also okay, and 99 mm is also okay. And between those two values, whatever dimensions will manufacture, those all are okay. Okay, means if you don't specify the dimensions, even that manufacturing person cannot manufacture even on the CNC machines also with that 100% accuracy. So that is why 100% accuracy is always not needed. But how much? Suppose for this duster, suppose this dimension is say about 100 mm, 100 mm plus or minus 5 mm if I make, will it affect its functionality? No, no. Suppose this dimension is 100 mm. If I specify the tolerance 100 plus or minus 5 mm or plus or minus 10 mm, will it affect the functionality of this duster? No. It can be used no for this dimension. If it is more 5 mm more also or 5 mm less also, it can wash the blackboard. No problem with that. So you have to identify this, whether a large tolerance is okay. For example, suppose I am manufacturing this table. Suppose the table is say about say 1000 mm is there, means 1 meter. So 1000 mm is the dimension. 1000 I have to manufacture at 1000 mm only. Plus or minus 10 mm is also okay for me. Means what? If tolerance, more tolerances are okay, then give more tolerance, because it will be easier for a manufacturing person to manufacture it, and he can manufacture it at a very cheaper cost, and you can able to sell that component in the market at a very cheaper or competitive rates. For example, suppose this duster, if I give the tolerance 100 mm plus or minus 0.1 mm, then what happens? If I give a tolerance of plus or minus 0.1 mm, it has to be manufactured in a CNC machine. And if this duster is manufactured in a CNC machine, then what happens to the cost of this duster? You have to sell it at 100 or 150 rupees in the market, and nobody will buy this duster, because other dusters are available at 10 to 15 rupees in the market, blackboard. So that is why you have to identify the acceptable accuracy level. That is very important in an industry. So here what happens? For example, suppose it is a piston and cylinder. Now what happens if suppose you have to give the tolerance for piston? If you give plus or minus 2 mm or 3 mm, is it okay? No. There more accuracy is needed. Means based on the problem, the accuracy level is different. So based on the problem, you go for more accuracy. For example, suppose I am going for a design of piston. Piston has to closely fit inside the cylinder and has to reciprocate. So there will be very, very close tolerances will be there. So 100 mm plus or minus 0.1 mm is okay, good, well and good. But for duster, if I do 100 mm plus or minus 0.1 mm, it is just a hopelessness, because even I can specify plus or minus 10 mm based on the problem. You have to decide which is the acceptable accuracy level. Okay. So that is why even if it is an approximate solution, even if you are getting approximate solution, you can move closer and closer to accurate value. In numerical technique, you know that if you use more number of terms, you can get more accuracy, no? So what you can do, you increase the number of terms used. So what happens? More and more accuracy you will get, but it will leads to more calculation time also. You have to compromise between those two. For example, suppose I want to analyze a piston, then even if it takes more calculation time, it is okay for me, because it is piston is a very crucial part. And if it is a shaft and bearing also, there also it is a very crucial part. But whereas if it is a duster, it is not so crucial. So due to that, little less accuracy is also okay for me. So I can use less number of terms or less number of elements, so that less accuracy can be obtained, which is okay for me. But if I am analyzing a piston, I have to use more number of terms and more number of elements, so that what happens, I know that to compare less accurate parts, you can go for less number of elements. For more accurate parts, you can go for more number of elements and more calculation time. That is a choice available for you people based on the acceptable accuracy level. It is a computational technique used to obtain approximate solution for boundary value problems in engineering. Boundary value problems means what? The problems in which boundaries, value of values, field variable values at the boundaries are specified. For example, you take a cantilever beam or you take a simply supported beam. In a simply supported beam, what happens? The displacement at both the ends are zero. At the boundaries, the displacements are zero. Means what? Without solving the problem, you have come to know the answer at certain points, that is at the boundaries. So those are called as boundary value problems. And there are certain problems also called as initial value problems. Initial value problems means what? Initial values are specified. For example, in heat transfer problems, okay, suppose one surface is having a temperature equal to 0, or it may be having a temperature equal to atmospheric temperature, and other surface is having a heating surface. Then what happens? Temperature T1 is equal to 25 degrees Celsius. That is the initial value problem. Yeah. So FEM can be used to solve both boundary value problems and also initial value problems. Okay. Then you can see here that FEM in 1960, Clough first published a paper using the term finite element method. Okay. He first coined this term, finite element method. Why it is called finite element method? Finite means what? You know, finite and infinite. Finite means what? Infinite means what? It cannot be counted. It is a very large number which cannot be counted. Okay. Finite means what? Countable. Even if it is 100,000 crore or 100,000 crore or 1,000 billion also, but it is a countable, no? Means they all are called finite values. So here finite element method means what? In this method, what we do is, if any problem is there, we'll divide that problem into finite number of parts. That problem into finite number of parts. Those each parts are called as each elements. Okay. So this method is called as finite element method. So in FEM, what we do is we'll divide the body, complex body, into simple sized finite number of parts. Then each part will be solved separately. Then later we'll club the solution for all the parts to get the solution for that complete problem. That is the concept used in finite element method. So here the term finite element method means what? We are using finite number of elements, that is finite number of parts. We are dividing the body into finite number of parts, and for each part we will do the calculation separately, and later we'll club those calculations to get the solution for that complete body. Okay. For example, suppose you want to calculate the area of any irregular shaped body. For example, suppose I want to calculate the area of this. Suppose this is a trapezium. I want to find the area of this trapezium. How we will do? We'll convert it into regular shaped bodies, no? Like this. Converted this trapezium into a rectangle and a triangle. So due to this, what happens? I know how to find the area of the rectangle. I know how to find the area of the triangle. I can find the area of rectangle and area of triangle separately. Then later I will add together to obtain the area of this irregular shaped body. No? So means what? This complex problem I have converted into simpler one. So in FEM, the same concept is applied. Means what? We will divide this body into finite number of elements, regularly divided into finite means countable number of elements, and for each these are called each elements, and the points joining the elements, these points are called nodes in a finite, and these are called each elements. So how many number of elements are there? This is element number 1, 2, 3, 4. Means what? This irregular shaped body I have divided it into 8 number of elements, and these points where 2 elements gets joined, they are called as nodes. Okay, in FEM. So if you see, first published a paper using the term finite element method. Then in 1967, the first book on finite element